Yes, it's a great time to be here. It's a great time to be alive. We're having some glitches, but we'll not let that deter us. Our facilitators are coming in. We have two already on ground. We have Tolani Thomas looking radiant, and we have Kemi Ogunkoya. She's sparkling, right? It's going to be an amazing time. But just so, yes, okay. It would be nice to just have you say a few words. But so, Tolani, what do we look forward to seeing today? In terms of your perspective.
My perspective on the subject.
Yeah, no, just for today, we're just doing like a
Oh, just
test,
for today.
live,
I
live.
really like the organization. How on it that your team was, with putting together this whole conference. I really like that. In the new normal that we found a way to still meet and share insights and make impacts at this time, and especially with everything that is happening around us in the world right now and in Nigeria in particular. It's really exciting that professionals and business coaches can still find the time to make things work in the new normal, to be able to share insights and present ideas to people that would in a normal situation would have had to meet at a conference hall or something. But it's great that we're finding a way around it. I really like this.
Awesome, awesome. This is great. This is great. I just love the energy that I can feel from the room. So you see, this is the ability of the typical Nigerian to be very resilient, right? Against all odds. So if you have something planned and it goes AY, you can also always evolve, a new way or a new pathway. So Kemi, tell us, what do you look forward to seeing today? Here from
Yeah, so
guidance,
absolutely with you. I'm absolutely with you on the energy that already seems to be overwhelming the room.
Yes.
I look forward to great conversations. I look forward to great insights, really, because there's really never a time where we need to start reviewing what really makes up the people that run small businesses. Because whether we like it or not, the extent to which we're able to ensure that there proper systems around small businesses would ensure just how much we're able to grow our economies. So it is absolutely great conversations, and I look forward to a lot of learning and sharing, deep conversations, great experiences, and just having fun.
awesome, awesome. I love that. I love that. Now, so just so as to get this going, Colin, can you just tell us a bit about you yourself, just so that the audience they have an understanding of who we share
Okay.
with them today?
Okay. No worries. Thank you very much.
So yeah, so
Yes, hello
can you just tell
everyone.
us
My
a
name is
few?
Tolani Thomas.
Yeah,
I'm a business development consultant, and I have been a business development consultant for about 8 years now. I started off my career. Okay, yes. So I started my career in public relations, and then I moved on to tech, and then I moved on to oil and gas before I started my own business development consulting company called Halisi Consults. Over my career, I've worked with, my business has been running for the past 2 years. So I guess I'm a great fit to discuss startups and people because I've experienced it firsthand. Um, Over the past 2 years, we've worked with over 100 clients in helping them with their business plans, their business strategies, business development strategies, launch strategies, marketing strategies. Those are the kind of services that we offer at Halisi Consults. Um, I also am the fundraising and development director at Sanitary Aid Initiative, which is a non-profit organization which helps to tackle period poverty in Nigeria. So Sanitary Aid functions as would I say, a provider of sanitary products for women and girls that are disadvantaged, that do not have access to proper sanitary products. We've provided sanitary products to about 20,000 girls in 14 states in Nigeria, in IDP camps, public schools, nursing homes, mental institutions, and so on and so forth. Sanitary Aid is an organization I'm really, really proud of, because I feel like we're really making a lot of impact and helping people's lives. But in my day-to-day, what I do is I'm a business development consultant, and I help entrepreneurs navigate starting their businesses, expanding their businesses, and launching new marketing campaigns and business development strategies as well. So yeah, that's essentially about me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that powerful intro. All right. Kemi, it would be nice to have your own thoughts. Yeah, tell us who you are.
All right, thank
Let's get this going.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Kemi Ogunkoya. I am a leadership development strategist and management consultant, founder and CEO of Reli's Works. I am also the co-founder at Speakers HQ. I am passionate about helping people develop great leadership competence. Like I always say, that you cannot be great at what you do unless you become great at what you are. So I'm really passionate about building effective leadership skills, starting from the place of self. I'm also an author of the Leadership Guardian. And in the course of my over a decade-long experience, I've been able to work with some of the greatest organizations, both nationally and internationally, to help them develop their leaders for their current leadership roles and also prepare them for future leadership roles. I also run an organization, which of course did start as a startup, and so many lessons learned, which I look forward to sharing with everyone on the call today. I'm really passionate about helping people develop leadership competence, and I've been able to do that across different continents, in North America, in Europe, and predominantly also in Africa. I have done this religiously across sectors, and I'm always happy to share and lend a voice to helping businesses grow. I'm also the founder of the Power Women Network, and the Power Women Network is an association of women who are destined to achieve more, who are hungry for more, and who aspire to do even greater things. So that's a little bit about me. And I am the author of The Leadership Guardian, a book we just launched in August this year. And the book is Leadership Guardian: How to Develop Effective Leadership at Home, Work, and in nations. So thank you very much for having me. I look forward to having a great show here today.
Thank you, the Leadership Guardian, Kemi. I have in the house, all right, the professor himself, and I'm going to be bringing him up shortly. Professor, the professor, Jimmy Tewe.
Morning, how are you?
Great to have you here, sir.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody. Hi, Kemi. How are you doing? Hi, Tolani. How are you?
Awesome. When I see books, right? So Kemi has books behind her. The professor has even much more books. So you can imagine the content that are going to be.
That's fine. Thank you, and well done, Taiwo. Well done, everybody.
Professor. So, Professor.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. It would be nice. We're just making our own path, right, in chatting this startup summit to move on smoothly. So we'd like you to just tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll get this ball rolling. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you very much, Taiwo, and thank you. And I think I watched a bit of Kemi's own, and I felt a bit intimidated by Kemi's profile. All right. I'm just a simple person, and I have been in the knowledge space actively for about 10 years. Prior to that, I was in the HR field, working in different sectors, consulting and banking largely. And in more recent times over the years, I've spent my time working with individuals and organizations, helping them to self-discover towards optimizing their potential. And my main focus in this period is how to help people unleash exponential growth, exponential results, whatever it is that they're doing. I have several programs and projects that I put out there, but the most recent one is the Exponential Accountability Program, which is what helped me to meet Taiwo and many other great minds across 20 countries. So that's what I'm doing. And so seeing what Taiwo's doing and talking about starting up, I mean, I'm huge in startup because I feel that we need a lot more enterprises, that will be, involved in, economic development, not just for the individual, but for the nation as a whole. So I'm quite excited about what Taiwo's doing. I'm excited about this show today. I'm looking forward to having a great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. And Professor was spot on as to the EAP program. That is an immersion program that ultimately helps you alter your focus and helps you prioritize. And this is just one of the aftermath of the EAP. So thank you, Professor, for the EAP program. Now, I think I saw Shelley in briefly, but notwithstanding, it would just be nice to share what the Startup Summit is all about. So this is a pre-launch. The main event is on the 1st and the 2nd of December. And why we decided to have this pre-launch was just so as to test the ground. All right, so to express whatever the glitches will be, to feel the pulse of the people, and also to give us time, because we had a short time to get all the panelists in place. So right now we have panelists all lined up all until the next pre-summit and then to the main event. Now, why do we need a startup summit? There was a need to get people to, get all the stakeholders, not necessarily the finance element or the entrepreneurs themselves, but to get all the supporting players or the supporting role players to come in and to be able to synthesize information. So you realize that you want to start business today and you want data, but there's a research institute somewhere, and you're not able to access them. So we're saying, look, if you want to start business, there should be a go-to place, where a platform where people can have access to data. They have have comparative advantage, particularly say in a place like Nigeria. So it's all about getting information available so that people can, or data available so that people can process this and be able to apply it to ensuring that they have a successful business. Now, we also realize that there are 6 pillars, but we introduced a 7th pillar. And this 7th pillar is why we're here today. It's very crucial. Even though people play a critical asset, people are a critical asset. In the order of ranking, we have timing and people. But people, we have control over people. But the 7th bit, even though it's around people, is the fact that the mindset of the people in terms of the culture, the cultural awakening, and even the attitude is such that has been missing over time. So unlike when we want to train people, we talk around certificates and education around those lines, it's become imperative that there's a need to develop skills. Beyond developing skills, there's also ensure that we have practical education for people. So today we're going to be talking about this 7th pillar, beyond the mind, beyond what people are doing, as to what prospects are there. The African, particularly in Nigeria, Nigeria has a huge deposit of this huge resource called people. All right, and we also believe that these people are our greatest assets. So we want to hear from the professor himself. He's been doing a lot of people things. Can we have your thoughts as to the people perspective, as to the constraints SMEs or startups face?
All right. Thank you very much, Taiwo. And I think that there are very many things that would make for success, where it comes to business or startup. And while the enthusiasm of the owner of the idea or the enterprise is a very key factor, at some point in time, as they begin to grow, they begin to get other people involved, in terms of what exactly it is that they're doing. And many times, I had a recruitment in 2 banks, and whether you're a small scale or a large scale corporate organization, you'll find out that it's always usually the biggest problem. Sometime last year, I began a program, and I called it Cracking the People Code. And I had CEOs that were willing to pay. They paid 150,000 naira to sit with me for about 6 hours, just one day. That lets you know the gravity of the kind of problems that they face, as leaders of organizations. Now, I think that one of the biggest blessings of any business is to get the right people in. And when I say the right people, we're definitely not talking about perfect people. But I think that there are different models around, you know, what a person should have that makes them fit for the role. I'm a certified job evaluator, and in the HAY methodology, one of the things we talk about is the fact that there are three, you know, factors that determine effectiveness at your job. There's know-how, there's problem solving, and there's accountability. And so therefore, what that means is that anybody that's going to come on the job must know how to do the job. And that is where your recruitment comes in, you know, and therefore recruitment should be very emotionless and should be very in favor of the organization. Unfortunately, many startup people find available people, but people that don't know how. Now, sometimes you might need to start off that way, but do you have a process in place to ensure that know-how, at least there's some basic one, that should really be at recruitment phase? And that's why you have things like assessment centers. But even as you begin to grow, you need to develop the people to ensure they know how. So the degree to which they know how to do the job is also the degree to which they're going to be able to do the job. Now, the second perspective is with regards to problem solving. And you see, a lot of people have knowledge, but you see, when you get to work, what you use is not just the knowledge in its raw form, it's the application of that knowledge. And really, problem solving is being able to take knowledge to solve problems. So every day we go to the office and we're trying to sort out a customer order or doing something, we're solving a problem for the customer. And what that means also is that depending on the nature of the job, depending on the scope of what is required, it's important that, you know, that your people have the capacity to be able to deliver on the job. So what that means in essence is that if you have somebody who has know-how, for example, but cannot take that know-how. So I'll give an example. In know-how, we use factors like if you have a PhD, if you have a BSc and things like that, you know, so certain jobs require a person that has that kind of knowledge. The assumption is that they don't just know the information, but they can apply it. And that's problem solving. That's what happens on a day-to-day basis. That's actually what you get paid for. But we find out that a lot of people do not know how to solve problems. So they do well, for example, in the interview. If your interview is more knowledge-based, for example, they might do well there, but when they show up on the job, they're not able to solve the problems. In fact, they become a problem at the end of the day. And so what you need to be able to do is to be sure that whoever you're bringing in or whoever you have on board has the capacity to be able to solve problems. The last dimension is accountability. And accountability speaks about, you know, the degree to which you can, you know, take your hands off the reins so that other people, you know, can run. Michael Gerber, a well-known, small business, you know, consultant globally, he wrote a series called the E-Myth series. And what it says is that most people work in their business and not on their business. And real scaling is where you begin to work on your business and not in your business. But for you to be able to scale to a position where you can work on your business, you still need people that will work in the business. And therefore, what that means is that they have demonstrated that they are accountable. They are able to take up responsibility. And so, for example, one of the dimensions that we measure when it comes to accountability is around the budget, okay? Freedom to act, there are a few other factors there and all that. But let's look at your budget. So, for example, now, would you give, you know, the sign off to somebody for $1 million, for example, if they don't have the capacity? Now, they must know how they will need to solve problems, but you must also know that they're accountable to that degree. So a lot of factors that are involved. And I think that the biggest thing that makes for success in any organization is the people that you have on board. Every great CEO says that people are our greatest assets. That's the other problem that is there, because if they are indeed your greatest assets, your attitude towards the attraction, the retention, the development of people in the organization, no matter how small your business, will reflect whether they're your asset or just something you want to use. I say that no matter your size, because you see, people say, oh, well, we're just a startup. You know, we can't have a lot of people, we can't hire. And I say to people, if you have a baby, you know, who is 2 months old and you need to work at the same time, for example, do you hire just an available person or somebody that has the competence? You're probably going to hire a woman who has maybe raised children herself before and all that. So you don't say because it's a baby, let's just bring anybody. Your business is a startup, your business is a baby. You're going to have to, if you know you're at that point, you're going to have to make some investment in ensuring you have the right people. If not, they might be available, but they may not be competent to be able to drive it. So availability is one, but competence is also the next most important thing. Let me hang it here and we can talk about more things much later.
we were just taking notes and and we just couldn't stop. We have Shelly in the house. Shelly, do you want to come in now and just take this burden off me?
Oh,
Shelly.
thank you. So sorry about that, Sati. Good morning, everybody. Shirley
Good
Hills
morning.
here. And I apologize for the delay and the hitches I had to encounter before joining the StreamYard. Thank you for having me, Sir Taibo. Thank you for having me. And that was a very brief but very insightful and impactful delivery, Mr. JT Jimmy Tewe. So I want to say good morning to everybody yet again, all the speakers, the panelists, Thomas and Jimmy Tewe. So we are, and well done, Sataiwo, for doing a great job. I mean, well done for doing a great job so far. So from where I joined in, I'm following through. Today we're talking about people. Sataiwo has already done the initial introduction, and I'm just going to follow through with that. Now, I want to also throw the same or similar question to Ptolemy Thomas with regards to how we can onboard the right set of people. Jimmy talked about getting the right people, not the perfect people, getting the right people and people who are able to be articulate in problem solving, as well as being accountable. So from your experience, how do you think this is workable?
Hi, Shirley. Thank you for that very great question. And thank you, Jimmy Tewe, for your insight. I found it very incredible, the points that you said. So my personal hack, like in my business, for finding the right person for the job, the right fit for the role, is that as a startup in this age, in 2020, we are in a tech-driven society. So you find that as you're building your business online, offline, you're sort of building a following around your business, because whether you like it or not, everyone on this conference right now has a social media page. Everyone on this call has a business page for whatever business that they're running. So you find that within your community, you already have people that are looking up to your business and thinking, oh, I would really love to work with this organization. So one personal hack that I employ is that I look for people within my community that already are sort of aware of what my business does and are kind of aligned to the goals that my business is trying to achieve. So when I'm searching for a new candidate, I look within my community and placed an advert to my community that, okay, I'm searching for someone to fill this position for my company. And I find that that's been more successful for me as opposed to using the traditional route to, fill a certain role. Because traditional routes might work for, larger enterprises, bigger organizations, but as a startup, you have to be smart, you have to, be efficient, and you have to be nimble. And you also don't have a lot of resources to to hire an HR consultant who will charge 20% of annual income to hire for a new role for you. So I find that it's best to look within my community and my following for the right candidates to fill a role within my organization. And I always advise my clients to do this as well. So as a startup, you have to, think of the easiest yet most effective way to recruit for the right people. And at the same time, as Mr. Jimmy Tewe said, that you have to find the people that actually want to do the job. Most times people scale through the interview stage, and maybe for the first 3 months they are working efficiently, and first 3 months they scale through their probation period, and then you, as time goes along, find out that this person is not as efficient or as effective as you assumed that they would be when you were speaking with them initially. So what to do in that situation is that you look internally as well. before you employ people, you have to make sure that you have your company policies and your organizational culture written down in actual paper form, or written down, and you send it to your employees as well. Like, you have your company policies all written down, properly spelled out before you bring on new people into the organization, so they are very clear as to what your organization stands for and what is expected of them. So you finding the right candidate is it's a two-way street. First, you have to find the right person that, you know, or is already aware of what your business does and how they can, and they possibly are already thinking of how they can make or help your business become better. And then also, you as the organization or the startup founder or CEO has to have policies prepared, which your staff can always refer to understand that, okay, this is what this organization stands for, and these are the things that, you know, are permissive within this organization, and this is what is expected of me. And also, I should mention this, most startups don't have proper job descriptions when they're searching for a new candidate. They just put out things like, oh, I'm looking for a marketer, but they're not, you know, specific as to saying, okay, I want a marketer that has shown proven ability to bring in so amount of sales, or so value of deal value. Like Mr. Tewe mentioned that, you know, can you trust people to work on $1 million deal? So you have to spell it out with the job descriptions. And a lot of startups just, you know, do it hard, or just say, I'm looking for a marketer, no job description, nothing. So these 3 points, looking within your community, having your company policies written out, spelled out accurately, and also having proper job descriptions, I think are, you know, 3 simple hacks that you can use to find the right people. Yeah.
Okay, Tolani, I'm going to come back to you with regards to sales. I'm just going to drop the question so that you can ponder on it while I come back to you. It's talking about how every person in the organization has to be a brand ambassador for the organization. And by brand ambassador, I'm also looking at every person has to be the sales, like a salesperson. You're promoting the business. So it is sales, however you want to look at it, you know. So I'm going to come back to you on that, but I want to take this question to Kemi now. Okay, so can we have Kemi? I'll be back to you, Tolani. Good morning, Kemi Ogunkoya. Okay, so now my own question is about strengths. How do we, from a leadership perspective, you know, we need to build our people. Now, as much as we are onboarding people or recruiting people who we believe have some certain level of skills, for startups, because this is our focus, we're focusing on startups. For startups, we understand that not many new recruits out there would have all of the qualifications that are needed in the business, in the startup business. So with regards to experiences and strengths, how can we as business owners, you know, bring in or build on the right set of people? When Jimmy Tewe says the right people, you know, we're not talking for people who are perfect at what they do, because you're coming into a system where you need to display teamwork, you know, so you're going to have to leverage on the strengths of other people. But my question is, how do we build these people? How do we build them, especially with regards to their strengths, the areas of their strengths?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that great question. You know, there's been a lot of great perspectives that have been shared from JT, Jimmy Tewe, and also Tolani. And, you know, just coming back to the question that you asked, how do we build strength? I think I'd love to start from this perspective, right? That as managers, CEOs, entrepreneurs within the small business space, I think it's important that, you know, we start from that point of being realistic. You know, there are a lot of expectations here and there where you assume that you would find this perfect, you know, match, you know, within the organization. And when push comes to shove, you realize that what you're really looking for, you necessarily cannot afford, right? So So you need someone who is able to come in and get the ball rolling, and just giving you 20 years experience, even though they only have a year worth of experience. But here's what I always say when it comes to ensuring that we leverage the strength of people. And I'd like to go through this using the acronym PEOPLE. And it starts with, starting from that place of purpose, right? Why are you bringing people on board? Is there clarity around what you need? Because when you understand what exactly you need, the skills you need from people, the resources you expect them to bring on board, then you will have a level of clarity around the strength that they should bring. Now, when you have the understanding around the strength that they bring, then you know how to harness whatever strength they are bringing. So I say it will start first from purpose, having that clear sense of clarity between what do they bring on board, what are the requirements, and just as Tolani said, what are the job description, what's the job description, what do people expect them to do? So if you're not starting from that place, you will not get to that point of appreciation of whatever strengths they have, because for all you care, their strengths may be a mismatch or a misfit with what you're looking for, or what you want to achieve in terms of filling whatever position or whatever roles that you have. The second thing is E, which stands for education, right? So when you bring these people, understanding that you have limited resources to work with, you have to be able to educate them, you have to be able to train them. And when we talk about training, a lot of startups will tell you, oh, you know what, I can't waste time training people. And I'm wondering exactly to whose service are you doing this, right? Or to whose disservice are you doing this? Whichever way, you get to bear the brunt. So if they have whatever strengths, whatever weaknesses, how have you been able to identify it, and what are you doing to help them improve? So you cannot have expected, or you do not expect that people are coming in perfect. Just like Jimmy Tewe said, don't look for perfect people, but look for the right people. So when you eventually get this right people, ensure that you're educating them as to what do they need to do. It will go way beyond handing them their job description and expecting them to just fly. Okay, you have to be able to take them through the ranks, help them understand what the expectations are, what their job description is, and just help them get to that point of understanding that they're in a culture that supports their growth. So how do you help them improve their strength? By educating them. The third thing is O, which stands for openness, right? As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a business leader, are you open, to diversity, or do you have this one-size-fits-all approach to the kind of people that you bring on board? Are you even realistic? Are you letting your emotions drive you? So are you fixed on the fact that it has to be a man, it has to be a woman, the person has to be from this particular tribe? So you have to be open to new ideas, open to new ways of doing things, and just be at that point where you understand the beauty of diversity and you're able to leverage it for your business. Understand that you can leverage the experiences of others, understand that you can leverage their strengths, and these strengths can help you make up for your own weaknesses. But if you do not understand that, then you are going to be working from your own place of disadvantage, and so will the people that you're bringing on board. The fourth is P, and P stands for problem solving. And I know that JT actually did mention a bit about problem solving. So when you're bringing people on board from the point of recruitment, right, have you been able to ascertain that beyond the certifications that they are able to parade, they're actually able to solve problems? Are you bringing them on board from that place of experience, or are you bringing them from that place of sentiments? Okay, so if people cannot get the job done, if you know from the very beginning that they do not seem like a right fit, there's no point going around the emotions and bringing them on board just for you to have to let them go again and have to terminate their appointments. It's important that you ensure that right fit as much as possible. So the truth is, some people will get in without really having what it really takes to deliver on the job. But it's important that you, at least to a great extent, help them, even develop the ability to problem solve. So as a business leader, as a CEO, what are you doing internally? What is the culture that you have? Are you building a culture where people can express their ideas? Because a lot of times I hear business leaders tell me things like, oh, you know what? I seem to be the only person bringing the ideas. The people I have on board, are not driving themselves enough. But sometimes the challenge is actually with the CEO or the entrepreneur, because you haven't created an environment where people can freely share, or where they can even deploy some of these skills and this competence. The fifth thing is that of learning. Okay, learning. So we spoke about education, but here learning. So do you have a learning culture within your organization? And by this, I'm not saying that you have to break the bank to ensure that learning is constantly going on. We have lots of MOOCs, free programs that organizations can leverage on. We have lots of learning management systems online that can help people within the organization close in on certain skills. So are you leveraging that to help them build their strength? Are you leveraging that to help them build their existing knowledge? Are you leveraging that to help them improve? Because when they improve, your business will definitely improve. And the final thing is E, which stands for evaluation. So when you bring people on board, how often are you evaluating what they're doing? What are the KPIs? And I hear a lot of businesses say, I'm just a small business. But even with your small business, like Tolani rightly said, there has to be systems and structures in place that would help you guide your business, that would help you keep people accountable within the system. So I think when it comes to building the strength within the organization, these are some of the things that business owners and businesses have to start considering, especially the small businesses, to ensure that they're able to secure the future of their businesses and also ensure business sustainability.
When you talk about learning, you talked about learning, you also talked about education in the acronym of people. How do you, are they one and the same thing? Because with education, you focus more on training, and then with learning, it's how do we distinguish both?
Yeah. All right. So by education, I mean, what do you have already, right? What do you have already? And by learning, I mean the culture that you have put in place to constantly keep developing and harnessing talent and knowledge within the system.
Okay. Okay, very great. So I'm going to go back to Tolani before I get to Mr. Jimmy. So Tolani, can we discuss the question that I asked earlier about how we can
repeat that again? Thank you.
How we can position each employee or each of our people or team members as brand ambassadors, as salespeople. I'm asking this because of your background as a sales expert.
Oh, thank you very much for that question.
Relationship with our team members, of course.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for that question. In making all your staff become brand ambassadors, kind of like imbibing that culture in them, I think in my experience, it has to do with how you treat people. So the way you treat people in your organization is the way they're going to act towards your organization. Like if you as a startup are not, remunerating properly, or you don't have, or you pay salaries late, or you don't have proper policies that tackle certain issues for your employees, like you don't have proper leave structure, you don't have proper sick day structure, simple things like that your normal employees would expect from their employers. You don't have all these things in place. It kind of sets a bad precedent, in the sense that it affects your organizational structure generally at large, and then your employees translate it into the business. So what I believe is, in an organization, how you treat people is how they will treat your business. So if you are, if you take on your employees' problems as your own when they are in bad situations, and also as Madam Kemi said, if you have a learning culture where you're constantly educating and training and teaching your employees, and you're generally concerned about their well-being and how to improve themselves, not only for your business, but in their careers as well, it goes on, it kind of has a trickle down, would I call it, it has a trickle down effect where your employees are now, they take your company as their own, and then they become, inadvertently brand ambassadors for your company. So it's not something that you can enforce. It's not something that you can compel them to be or to do. It's something that happens over time as you treat your employees better. The better you treat them, the better they act towards your company, and the more they become brand ambassadors for your company. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, you did justice with that. Thank you. So, okay, now, are you saying, we are talking about startups here.
Yeah.
So I want to get practical, because when you're starting out, there's certain budgets that you do not have as a small business, as a startup.
Yes. Yes.
So how do you actually cater to these things you have mentioned? So you have to have those structures and processes in place. I get that, but for that young startup that's watching this or that's tuned in here, how do you think they can build this culture? Because most of the time, culture, also depends on budgets. It takes budget. You need a budget for most of these things you've talked about. So how can you balance it?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Most people, especially with startups, they assume that culture is things that you spend a lot of money on to build. Some companies have budgets of, I don't know, monthly budgets for thank God it's Friday dinners with their staff. Some people have snooker boards in the office, and so on and so forth. Like, fun, cool things that make people feel at home in the office. But I don't. I like to manage money, so I don't essentially believe that you have to spend a lot of money to build the right culture. It just goes down to simple things like, calling each employee into the CEO's office or to the HR manager's office, and then asking them questions about, okay, so if you're going to, as you're working here now, like for example, you ask an employee as they're working here now, what are their plans for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? And they tell you, because what you're doing essentially is you're creating an environment for them to be sincere. So you find that your employees, come, they speak honestly and they tell you, okay, this is what I want to do with my career. And you accept that. I mean, you're a startup. Most people might not want to work at a startup forever. Some do, but some may not. They might want to do other things. They definitely want to do other things with their career. So what a simple thing that you can do is ask them what the next step is for them. And then, sort of commit to helping them achieve the next steps. I'll give a practical example. I have one of my employees is a data analyst, but he's currently employed as a business analyst. And I know for a fact that he's underemployed. Like, we're not utilizing him to the best of his capacity. But I made a commitment to say that, look, I know that you are working as a business analyst when you should be a data analyst, and you could be doing a lot more with your skills, but I commit to paying for one of your certifications or qualifications that will take you to the next level. And I expect that you commit at least a year to my organization. So it doesn't have to be expensive, fun things. You don't have to take your employees to Dubai. You can just do simple things that would matter to each employee, that that is personally, because it's a startup, it's a small organization. There are not a lot of people anyway, so you can easily speak one-on-one with each employee and understand what matters to them, and then try to help them solve, their not personal problems, but their professional problems. And, that kind of sets the tone for your organization. It essentially presents you as an organization that cares about its employees. And that, I don't think there's a better organizational culture than, presenting as an organization that cares about the welfare and the career growth of its employees. So I think something as simple as that, simple as paying for qualifications. I mean, it might be expensive for your company to do that, depending on what kind of business you do, but it's something that you can build towards and, provide for your employees. So yeah, I don't think organizational culture should be that expensive. You can find ways around it.
Okay, great. I was actually waiting to hear all that you said, and you did not disappoint, because most times startups, you're welcome. Startups, you want to do what the big dogs do. Permit my language. You want to do what the big, the big guns, what they do, but we need to understand that the little things matter. It's all about welfare. Your business is as good as the people in the organization, right? Because they are the ones that come together to make the dream very, very important. Now, let me go back to Mr. Jimmy Taylor. So, can you bring him on?
Yes, I'm here. Even though it's breaking a bit, but go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. My question, or I would like us to talk more. Okay. So,
Well, if you can hear.
Just we're having a glitch here.
So my question,
Okay. Okay, but so Professor, not taking away from what Shelley is about to share, the role of resilience, in helping, because so there's one thing about, I've heard everybody speak, and in this discussion, we've talked around the issues of what I would consider the ideal situation. Now, I imagine a startup, a business that is set to, commence either as an SME, a small medium enterprise, or an IDE, an innovative driven enterprise, which is usually where you have those big companies that want to scale, very fast, and then for the SMEs, they want to remain small. Now, but when you are engaging people at that point, it's clear that there has to be sacrifice. So how do we deal with the issues around resilience, and how do you communicate resilience or sacrifice in that bit? Because an average African, an average Nigerian is resilient, but resilient towards what? So how do we build resilience so that we can also build our enterprises or our organizations? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Taiwo. And resilience has to do with, it's intrinsic. It's not something that primarily is driven from the outside. Even if you find someone you want to have to be more resilient, you probably have to do coaching. I know that coaching, the principles around coaching essentially is, you're helping people pull out what is already on the inside of them. So when it comes to resilience, it's really intrinsic, and it is there, or is there and it's being demonstrated, or it's there and it's not being demonstrated. Coaching is what enables you to be able to unlock what is not demonstrated, but it's in there. But again, because it's there, it should be demonstrated. It therefore means that somehow from the recruitment process, that you should be able to even find out and begin to see somebody who is resilient in the organization. I think that one of the things we speak about in behavioral interviewing is that we try to find out what people have done. The idea behind it is that what they have done before is a strong indicator, or is a stronger indicator of what they're going to be doing in the future. So for example, for an IDE, like you mentioned, I wouldn't hire somebody who is not doing something already, for my own IDE. What I would do is that if I find somebody maybe in their own little space and trying to create their own programs and they've been through quite a bit. I can see their resilience in their commitments to what they want to do. Now, what might now happen is I find out that maybe the idea might not be great, and then I bring them on board to an idea that will work. So already they have it, and all I'm giving to them is a bigger opportunity, where that is concerned. I've seen instances where, and I'm going to go back to coaching again, I've seen instances where people actually have that capacity, but for some reason, they find out that they're not expressing that. And what you need to do is to be able to coach them. And it therefore means that one of the skills that the owners of the businesses need to have, or the leaders of the business, need to have startup is a coach. Coaching is a skill. It's not someone I'm a coach. Well, that's great. The idea behind that, you have the skill of coaching. Now, everybody can have the skill of coaching. I'm not putting down the coaching field, but I think that, things around coaching and mentoring are skills that people need to begin to have. And so what that means in essence is that you'll be able to sit down with somebody. Maybe I've seen instances where somebody showed quite a lot of resilience, dedication, commitment at the beginning, and then something began to wane. And then the process of coaching, we began to identify other factors that began to affect their commitment, and we're able to resolve things like that. And eventually we got them back into that position of resilience. Resilience is important, but there's nothing, somebody said something, and I respect a lot. They said you can push a car to move it, but to push that, you must move it push it from outside. But if you can turn the car on from inside, then that car will move by itself. And I think that is the responsibility of leaders, not pushing people from outside to be resilient, but being able to find a way to turn them on the inside. And that's why it's something that drove me to, understanding cracking people code. What's the code? What are the keys, that basically drive people engagement from the inside? And so that's the angle that I usually would, bring. I mean, there are many things that will lead to resilience. I think that three things, I always see this, in NLP, about the fact that people are a product of their environment, their upbringing, and strong emotional experiences. So when I do interviews, for example, I have questions that I ask that are very probing, that try to give me an idea of, for example, what even got you in business in the first instance. Because many times I find out that when the premise is wrong, then the actions will be wrong ultimately. So these are things that are there, but resilience is very important, no doubt, particularly as startup, sacrifice. And let me say something about that, because that means that if you want to attract good people and you can't afford it, then how do you do that? Because again, sometimes the reason why people attract not very great people is because of how much they're paying. So therefore, you have to be able to use at least two anchors. One, the anchor of vision. Every strong person that is starting any enterprise must know how to tell their story, tell a good story, not a lie. All right. There's a way you can, say the truth or tell the truth. To tell the truth brings about, being able to, communicate it in a way the person understands and they can buy into it. And I've seen people that, I had a startup organization a number of years ago, and I couldn't pay, like Accenture and all those kind of things, but I had to find ways to sell the vision, and they could see that I was pursuing it. And I promised them, and I said to them, which is the other angle, as we grow, you would also grow. And that's the other part to it. It's very sad to say that many startup businesses, once the business begins to generate revenue and all that, the only person benefiting it is the CEO. And people are not blind, particularly the finance guy that collected the check on the client, and yet you're not paying salaries. These are real issues we need to talk about. So people that are running businesses need to understand that, look, human beings respond to the kind of leadership that they are exposed to. And so that's why I always say that, that if you want better stuff, become a better leader. That's just the way that it works. Let me stop there. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Good, yes.
Okay, JT, thank you very much. So I said this is an interesting topic for me, resilience. And I like the fact that you say, it takes leadership and coaching for you to be able to build resilience in your people, And also, you are not, for you to build resilience in people, you need to first be resilient. people are exposed to the type of leadership. People, behave in the way that they are exposed. So you need to be resilient to be able to, have people who will be resilient by association, if I would use that phrase, by watching you as the leader or as the entrepreneur or the CEO, they begin to imbibe resilience as well. But my earlier question before my connectivity shut me out was on scalability. I recall you talking about those paradigms where you talked about getting the right people, people who are problem solving, and also accountability. And then you talked about scalability, where you get to work on the business and not in the business. Now, at what time frame in the startup level? I know every startup has their different business models. There's the growth stage, there's the scalability stage. So at what stage do startup owners or the entrepreneurs or the business owners of the startup get to start looking at scalability? Now, I'm not taking the highlight out of people, because you would agree with me that when we all started our businesses, you are the CEO, you are the COO, you are the CFO, you are about everything in one by yourself. So at what point you are working in the business, at what point, when we talk about scalability, at what point does the startup owner get to think scalability?
All right. I think internally the key thing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Internally, the key thing that you want, above all, that will determine whether you are ready to scale is your cash flow, whether you can afford it, because again, the fact about it is that you're trying to bring somebody on board. We're talking about scaling with regards to people now, not, general. Now, for the business, the key thing that enables you to scale is the market reality. You cannot scale it to something that does not exist. So where there's a market opportunity, meaning what I mean by that is that if I'm selling cakes, for example, if people are not going to buy a lot of cakes, then what am I trying to scale to try to open more stores? Okay, but if there's higher demand that I'm able to meet, then there's an opportunity for scaling. So that's on the external. Internally, one of the key things I look at is the cash flow, whether I'm at that point where, and I try to drive that, to be able to afford to bring in people. Now, what you do essentially is the core activities you have in the business, you are able to broadly define them in two, key areas: strategic operations, and then strategic and then operational, activities. So there are activities that are strategic. For example, business development, sales, and marketing are all very core to the business, but there might be activities even under them that you can bring in people to be able to handle. Now, once you are able to afford to do that, and you realize that being able to do that gives you the latitude to be able to reach more into the market, then you are good to go. Again, I have the model that I run for my business, for example, because it's more knowledge-based, is I have 3 core staff, and then I have people that are ad hoc or basically project-based. Once I get projects, I have consultants I bring on board and all that. That's the model that I can run. But at the stage where I am in right now, I'm seeing a lot of huge market opportunity, not just locally, globally. I've checked my cash flow. I see that sustainably I can do that for the next 1-2 years. Then there's no problem about trying to scale, because I am scaling into a business opportunity. So I think 2 things. Number 1 is cash flow internally, where you realize that, okay, we're afloat, we're doing well, and there's huge opportunity outside, and therefore we're able to now begin to scale in that direction.
I think we're still having the same.
Okay.
She's back now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimmy Taylor, for that. Thank you. I'm back on. I think you lost. I lost myself. Okay, the connectivity is not doing me well today. But thank you for that. Insight. Okay, so I'd like to talk to Kemi before we round off for the day. we're talking about resilience. We're still talking about resilience, and we have heard that it takes visionary leadership to imbibe resilience, to express resilience and imbibe it in your people. So where does this visionary leadership take us, with regards to building resilience in our people as startups?
All right. Thank you very much for that question, Shelley. And I think it will take us to the future, really, because it's important that we understand that in the course of our journeys to building sustainable businesses, profitable businesses, we would have lots of hiccups here and there. We would have lots of, obstacles that we have to be able to overcome and still remain grounded in the game, while ensuring that, in the course of dealing with the VUCA world, as it were, and VUCA stands for the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we find ourselves, that through all of this, we're able to stand. But then, like I always say, that the quality and effectiveness of leadership within organizations will be the determinant of organizations that would die, those that would survive or barely survive, and those that would thrive. So it definitely comes down to how we're able to first harness from the inside, and that starts on the premise of self-awareness as a leader. So we cannot talk about resilience in leadership when we're not talking about self-awareness. So how aware are you of your strengths as a leader? Do you know what your strengths are? Do you know what your weaknesses are? Do you know what your triggers are? Do you know what motivates you? Do you know what you're passionate about? Because when push comes to shove, it would come down to the resources that you are able to pull on the inside to keep you going. So a lot of it would also boil down to the vision that you have for the organization. So an organization that I talk about frequently when having conversations like this is the story of Tesla. Okay, so Tesla, as we now get to know it, has been through different transitions, trying to find solutions to the electric vehicles, and just changing leadership till they got to where they are right now. But the story of Tesla is that of resilience, but also that of visionary leadership. So within our organization, small businesses, what vision do we have? Because when things are not even going just as perfectly as we have envisioned, it will boil down to the resources that we have on the inside, which starts with the vision that we hold. How visible is the vision that we hold? Do we even see it as something that will come to fruition? If we see it as something that will come to fruition, what mental resources do we need to start harnessing to ensure that when things are not working as much or as well as we have planned or we have envisioned, we're still able to stay in the game? So yeah, vision, being able to clearly define what the vision of the organization is, where the vision is headed, or where the organization is headed, and being able to effectively communicate that vision to the stakeholders within the organization, both internal and external stakeholders, would also go a long way in ensuring that we're able to translate business resilience or internal resilience to business sustainability. So to sum it up, it starts with self-awareness from the leader, and a lot of it also hinges on the ability for leaders to be able to hold on to a vision. And when we talk about vision, it shouldn't be something that you just go in and out of. So fine, you may have to retweak your strategy, but your vision to a great extent has to remain pretty much consistent. So that's what I would have to say on that, Shelley.
Okay, so I need to put on mic. All right. So we were having glitches with Shelley. So I love what you said, and I love the approach you've also postulated. I'd like to we need to be rounding up now, because this is just like a teaser for the main event on the 1st and the 2nd of December. Now I hear what Prof talked around coaching. And that's the area I was going or heading towards before we moved on to this discussion. And I want to push it to you now. Now, leaders in starting businesses, it's clear that passion is not enough. The ideas are not enough. All right, having ideas is not enough. Hope is not a strategy. It therefore means that the leader must find within himself, or whoever is starting, must find within themselves to be able to even have an understanding of business, as it were. What we usually have is that we have people that are so focused on the idea at the expense of business. So you have someone that's an expert in, say, in baking or an expert in IT. So the person is so focused around his own expertise rather than understanding what it takes to run a business. So for coaching, we're saying it's important that all, the leader or whoever is starting a business or the entrepreneur should have that in mind. So your own, at this point, Tolani, it will be nice to, in a bit to close out, to understand how you think people can be more equipped. I know there are a lot of learning programs. The Professor Jimmy Tewe has the EAP constantly running, equipping people, almost like an MBA class. But beyond some of those programs, what are your own means, or suggestions or perspective around how we can have entrepreneurs educated for this?
I didn't quite get that. How we can have entrepreneurs educating their staff or themselves?
No, educated, so there's the education of the staff now, and then there's the education of the person that wants to educate the staff. All right. So the coaching of the coach. How do, because until people come into that mindset that they also need to be coached,
Yes.
they probably will not be able to give what they don't have. So we're saying, from your own perspective and based on your experiences, how have you been able to navigate this with your clients as to ensuring that they are able to train themselves so that they can train their employees?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very important question, because a lot of entrepreneurs that are running their organizations always believe that they are omniscient, they know everything, and they don't need any further training, which is usually funny because people in fact on social media you find that a lot of people kind of mock people that have MBAs or master's degrees, saying that what are they teaching them in school. But then when you get into the process of running a business, you find out that there's a lot that you need to learn that you definitely would not know via experience, or there's certain things that you would experience that would take you back to you having to learn new skills and new things. So to that I say, I mean, obviously you mentioned the EAP that is run by Mr. Jimmy Tewe. There are also business accelerators for startups that are focused on startups in certain industries, maybe tech-enabled businesses, e-commerce businesses, health businesses, or some business accelerators are focused on female entrepreneurs. So there are lots of opportunity around entrepreneurs that are available for them. Aside, the obvious of recruiting a consultant to come and take an inward look into their business and help them identify the ways they can mitigate the issues that they're having within their business. That is the obvious step to take. But as an entrepreneur, a business owner, I found that you have to imbibe a learning culture. Like you have to stay teachable. You cannot for any reason get to a point in your business or it is your career that you say, oh, I don't need to learn anymore. I know everything about my business. Nobody can know my business more than me. That is actually not true. A lot of people can know your business more than you, and a lot of people that have studied and researched how to run businesses or how successful businesses are run and how to make them thrive can always help you. You have the option of hiring a consultant, which is the fastest way out, that can just come in and just suggest strategies that you can implement in your business to take you to the next growth phase. You can also apply for one of the business accelerators that are available. There are so many business accelerators available on platforms like Opportunities for Africans There's so many tech hubs right now, UK Tech Hub, CC Hub, Impact Hub, that are focused on helping entrepreneurs, grow from the current stage where they are to the next level. You can sign up to coaching programs. You can sign up to so many things. You just have to, remain teachable, and also not believe your own hype. A lot of entrepreneurs, because when you get to a point in business where, as a Nigerian living in Nigeria, you start hitting numbers like $10,000 a month. I've met entrepreneurs that are hitting $200,000, $1 million in a year in Nigeria, running their business from Nigeria, and it sort of makes you start feeling like you start feeling like a god, literally, because when you're hitting those numbers that you never thought were possible, it makes you feel like nobody can tell you anything. And it's great for you that you are achieving those numbers, but then for whatever stage you are at, there's somebody that has hit that stage and transcended to the next level by remaining teachable. Even with Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they always say, like, they stay teachable. They read books and they continuously enlighten themselves on better ways to do better things. I don't know if you've watched Bill Gates documentary on Netflix about what goes on in his brain. He literally has a week in the year where he calls it Think Week, where he takes off time completely to read certain books and think of how to improve his organization. So if you as an entrepreneur are falling into the trap of believing that nobody can tell you anything or nobody can teach you how to improve your business, you won't be able to grow to the next level. You will be stuck at the level of growth that you are at when you believe that you have arrived. So I think the most important thing is to stay teachable, and then also to learn from every experience that you encounter. I believe in the concept that every human being in the world has something to teach. So every opportunity that I encounter with different people, I use it as a learning opportunity always. So the main thing is to stay teachable and to be ready to learn from every experience that you encounter.
Thank you so much. That is well articulated. I love the fact that you're able to give us several options to update knowledge, and I love the angle around the thinking week, and I think it's highly desirable. I'm also hoping to go on a thinking retreat in preparedness for 2021. And Jimmy Tewe, Professor Jimmy is doing something on the 1st to the 3rd as a prelude to winding down, year 2020 in the market. So I'll just go to Prof in concluding. We're done. We're meant to be out of here earlier, but we're on course. So what would be, just in closing, what would be your thoughts around the need to be equipped, and then what do we look forward to on the 1st of December from you?
This startup summit. So, I mean, anybody that is engaged here must be looking forward to it. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of value. The reason why I say that is because I'm sure that by January, the noise around COVID will have gone down significantly, and the new normal will no longer be new. We have to take the new away to be normal. And what that means is that we need to have settled into certain realities. And so what I see that we'll be doing, with the Startup Summit is that 1st and 2nd of December is that we're going to be looking at practical things we can put in place, because the year is going to begin 1st of January, but there's certain things, you might need to make adjustments with. And that's why the timing is great. It gives about a month to be able to make required adjustments. And then there's going to be a lot of learning in terms of not just positioning, but, in terms of capacity or capability development. Like Tolani said, as a leader of any business, you must always be given to learning. If you are not, then you will find out that, I find out, for example, that one of my initial biggest challenges in my business was I wasn't really given to sales. But you can't be in business and not sell. So I'm reading, I think the book I'm reading right now is Sell Like Crazy, So, I mean, it's normal. And, I try to pace myself and read. So these things are very important. I'm quite excited about it. We're looking forward to 1st and 2nd December. Taiwo, well done with the team, and I'm sure it's going to be very exclusive.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Professor. Yes, so Kemi Obukoya, thank you. And Kemi, this book by Kemi is in fact, I've just been digesting this book and I can't even get off the cover, the book, because it's full of nuggets, beyond nuggets, insights as to how to take. So Kemi, what will be your closing remarks and what do we look forward to seeing on the 1st of and 2nd of December?
Yeah, so thank you very much for this great session that you have put together. Um, my closing remark will be this, right? That if we want to have better businesses, more sustainable businesses, more profitable businesses, it absolutely does begin with us. Okay, and we all have to take individual responsibility for our actions and our inactions. I'm also from that school of thought about the need to keep learning. You can never learn enough, and you should never get to that point as a business owner where you think that you have all the information that you need, all the knowledge that you need, and there's nothing more to learn. So keep learning, keep developing yourself, keep improving, and beyond that, keep being a better person. I'm sure that there will be so many lessons, nuggets, lifelong transformational lessons from the 1st and 2nd of December. And I certainly do look forward to that. So keep getting better at who you are to become better at what you do.
Great. Awesome. Tolani, so you just following up with so in closing, what do we look forward to seeing from you on the 1st and 2nd of December? And what other things do you think people need to hear from you just in closing right now?
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe that we've set, a great precedent for the future startup summit. And I think that we can, build on what we've all shared here and discussed and share insights and, implementable tactics that startups can use to improve their structure, employing people, marketing, sales, operations, and all parts of their business generally. So I'm really looking forward to the main event, the main startup summit. And I hope that everyone that joined us here today will join us as well at the main event. And I hope as well that it would be an insightful, beautiful experience for everyone involved.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. So it's been an amazing time. I just want to thank everyone for showing up. On the next startup summit is going to be on the 12th of November. The pre-launch, the next pre-launch, a similar series like this. We have likes of Charles Tudor, we have Sazo, media partner, Chief of Sazo, Ibere John. We have Alade, and they also Alaide, the owners of Purple Capital, Maryland Law, and a few other people. So the next pre-launch is on the 12th of November. Please sign in and get everybody to be conscious about this. And the main event is going to be holding on the 1st and the 2nd of December. It's Jenny, I want you to close this session. I need to close this session if you can help. If not, Jenny, you want to close this session?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Yeah, it would be nice for you to close the session, all right?
Okay, all right. So thank you, everyone. A lot of great learning and insights. I also have a notepad filled, with some of the learnings from today. So I always say this, that insights without action is always going to be useless. So the lessons that you have, please ensure that you go with it. Thank you. I think Shelly's back now.
Okay, so Shelly's back. So everyone, thank you and God bless. We'd like to say thank you to all our panelists. with Kemi Ogukoya, Tolani Thomas, the professor himself, Jimmy Tewe. And Shirley, thank you for the great job. It's awesome. I will look forward to seeing everybody on the 12th and also on the 1st and the 2nd of December with our lineup. So thank you all. I really appreciate this. And to everyone listening and everyone that's going to be watching after now, we're saying watch out for something. And this is geared towards building an ecosystem that will support businesses in Nigeria and essentially in Africa. Thank you and have a beautiful bank holiday. Bye.